All right, so for those of you who are online again in Module 4, there is this Chapter 4 Star Plow Horse Puzzle Dog Activity. That's what we're going to be working on in class today, focusing on that. Okay, so please make sure you download that. It is in the modules, module number 4. Right here, Chapter 4 Star Plow Horse. Those of you who are in class, we're going to go ahead and get started. Bless you. All right, so on Monday, we introduced the square that will help us identify which category our menu items belong in based on their popularity and also based on their profitability or the contribution margin. Okay. So what we looked at on Monday on the paper that we used, we were looking at just one table that had just the popularity, one table that had just the contribution margin. Okay. And so what I want you to do, what we're going to do with this activity is we're going to combine it all. And so you'll notice on the page, this table has everything all on one table. Okay. And so this is going to help you with the Chapter 4 exam to get you ready for that. Okay. So let's do a couple of reminders. We're going to work on this first one up here on the top together. Okay. And then I'm going to let you work on the bottom one by yourself. Okay. And then we'll be able to compare the differences between the two. Questions, comments, concerns? All right. So let me close this. I'm going to put you on the bottom. All right. So let's start with our popularity index, popularity percentage. Who remembers how do we find the individual popularity percentage for each item?
You divide by the number of total items.
Okay, so we divide the original, like the total number, by the number of servings for that particular item divided by the total number. Okay, so I've given you the total number of 175. We add up all of these right here. Okay, we add up all of these and we divide each individual item by our total, 175. So what I would recommend you doing, just so you have this for your notes, is go ahead and write divided by 175 by each one of these. Okay. So that way you remember, or maybe over here in the margins, do a little note, popularity percentage is equal to the item served divided by total served. Okay. So as we do this, I'm going to go ahead and erase these 175s and just have a lot of space. Okay. And so if I do 50 divided by 175, you get 28.6%. Remember, it's okay to have one decimal place. We don't want to round this up to 29. We want to have at least one decimal place. So what is 10 divided by 175?
Oh, 17.5.
No.
Right.
If we had done 175 divided by 10,
No.
it would have been,
Oh, you said the other way.
yeah,
Oh,
we got 10 divided by 175. So that's 5.7%. And so then 5 divided by 175 is
2.9.
2.9%. And then we know that 10 is 5.7%. Just because we had 10 before. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about finding that popularity percentage? So which one is our most popular?
Bacon cheese.
Bacon cheeseburgers. Excellent. Okay. Which one's our least popular?
Dogs.
It's our corn dogs again. Okay. So those are our high and that's our low. But how do we determine what is high or low? How do we find that popularity benchmark?
Oh, is it over or under a percentage, right?
Correct. You guys remember that homework you were supposed to get done before today? Where you were practicing that popularity benchmark on the first 12 problems of that homework assignment. We take 100%. We divide by the number on items on the menu. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to highlight this blue square right here. Okay, so we take 100 divided by what?
8.
8. And that equals
12.5.
you, 12.5%. And then my note down here on the bottom says, in order to be considered popular, it must achieve 75% of the average. So we're going to multiply that by 0.75. So what is 12.5 times 0.75? 9.3.
3.7.
Okay, so we're gonna make it 9.4. So that's what I'm gonna put right here. This is my benchmark, 9.4%. That is my benchmark. That's why it's highlighted in blue. Okay, that's my benchmark. So now I can compare menu mix, this MM, that is our popularity percentage. So is 22.9, is that higher or lower than 9.4?
Higher.
Thank you, higher. What about 14.3? Higher. 8.6?
Lower.
Lower. 11.4?
Higher.
Higher. 28.6 we know is higher. 5.7?
Lower.
2.9?
Lower.
And 5.7.
Lower.
Okay, so that is how we determine higher or lower for our popularity or our menu mix. Okay, questions, comments, concerns about that? Anybody online, any questions, comments, or concerns?
No.
Okay. So now that's the first piece of our puzzle. So what's the second piece of our puzzle?
Contribution margin.
It's our contribution margin. Okay. And how do we find this contribution margin right here? How did I get $5.40?
You gotta take your menu price, you subtract it from your cost.
Okay, so contribution margin is equal to the menu price minus our cost. So when I take $5.40, when I take $7.20 and I subtract $1.80, I get $5.40. Okay. So what is 625 minus 225? $4. What is $5.83 minus 175?
408.
408, good. Oops. Okay. And then what about $5 minus $1.25?
375.
Good, 375, thank you. And then lastly, 625 minus 125 is $5. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about contribution margin? And the last one. Let's go with pink. Our average contribution margin. How do we find the average of anything?
Of
Add all them up and divide by.
There we go. Add them all up and divide by the number. Okay. So I'm going to give you a hint. Your homework assignment and your chapter 4 exam is going to be, you have the option of using the Excel version or the PDF version. Okay. I would recommend using the Excel version. Why?
it's easier. We just plug and play most of it.
Right? Because with the Excel version, you can actually just do the you can have Excel help you with the math versus trying to add up all of these. So when I highlight all of these right here, in the very bottom, I see that my sum is $34.18. And my average is $4.27. So if you look at the very far bottom, I know it's really tiny. However, if we look down here, when you have them highlighted, this average down here at the bottom will actually tell you what the average is. So $4.27. So if you want to do the math on your calculator and then use that to check your work, that way you make sure that you're still following along. Does that make sense? Okay. So now $4.27 is what we put in here for our average contribution margin. So is $5.40 higher or lower than 427?
Higher.
540 is higher. 367 lower. 428
Higher.
higher by a penny. 4
Lower.
lower. Good. 4 lower. 408 lower. 375 lower, and $5 higher. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? All right. So the last piece of our puzzle is to now put the pieces together so we see what our picture looks like. Okay, so I'm going to draw my square up here. You can draw wherever you have space. Okay, remember we have star, plow horse, dog, and puzzle. Okay. My recommendation is to pick a category and stick with it. Don't try to go line by line and try the category line by line. Find the category that has the same letter combination. What are the two easiest?
High, high, and low, low.
High, high, and low, low, right? It's the same letter. So let's focus first on our high, high. So high, high, that's a star. Let's go with, so high, high, that's a star. And we go down the list. That's my only high, high. So my only star is my chicken sandwich. Okay. And then we have low, low. So LL, LL, that's my dog. That's going to be BLTs and corn dogs. Okay. Now the puzzle and the plow horse get kind of somewhat confusing. Okay. We think about popularity high. So we put our popularity up here high and our contribution margin low. And so where those two lines intersect is our plow horse. So this is where I'm going line by line and I'm only looking for that high-low combination. High contribution margin, low popularity. Okay, so that's my hamburger, chili cheeseburger, and bacon cheeseburger. All my burgers are in my plow horses.
Mhm.
And then lastly is my puzzles. Low contribution, low popularity, high contribution is my puzzles. So that's gonna be my crab and veggie burger. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about how we put these into different categories? I think this is a really important concept to grasp. Because I think too often restaurateurs don't stop and take the time to figure out what is their high performing, what is their low performing, what can they do to get things shifted over from one category to the next. Okay. And so looking at this, our chicken sandwich, our hamburgers, our chili cheeseburgers, our bacon cheeseburgers, our plow horses, our chicken sandwich is the star. Okay. And our dogs, the BLT, the corn dogs. If we ever have something in the dog category, do we just get rid of it? No. We might want to justify why we have it. So what is the difference? Like, why would we not get rid of a BLT on our menu?
Light and lunch.
Okay, so it's light, it's a lighter option. Okay, what else? Think about the ingredients of a BLT and think about what we already have on our menu. Do we have a bacon cheeseburger?
Yeah.
Right? So a BLT is just the bacon, lettuce, and tomato. We already have those ingredients handy. What's the only difference between, except for the patty, of course? What's the difference between a burger and a BLT?
The bread.
The bread. Okay. And so if it means that we just have like an extra loaf or two of Texas toast, so we can make our BLTs, well, we already have the ingredients, right? So maybe what we can do is try to make it more popular. Or because it is a low contribution margin, maybe we need to change our recipe to where it becomes more profitable for us. Okay. Whether we either change the recipe or we increase the price. Okay. Those crab cakes and the veggie burgers, this is great. They're making us a lot of money. They're making us more than the average contribution margin, but they're not super popular, right? But our vegetarian burger is our only vegetarian option. So if we get rid of that, then we have no veggie options. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about this? Okay, I'm gonna test something real quick. Yeah, okay. So what I want to show you as before you get started on that second example, okay? What I want to show you is your homework. Where is my homework assignment? All right, so if you have not already done the popularity benchmark and average contribution margin, okay, I would like you to get that done. That's going to be first. That's going to help you reinforce finding that benchmark and also finding the average contribution margin. Okay, so that's gonna reinforce that. Then you have the analyzing menu mix homework. Okay, so this is going to be due on on Monday of next week. Okay. This analyzing menu mix homework is essentially what we did in class today. Okay. So you'll have the Excel spreadsheet. Okay. And so essentially you'll fill out this information. And when you go to the homework assignment, okay, you basically going to type in the information asking. So the chicken sandwich has a contribution margin, and this chicken sandwich has a popularity of. Okay, so you're going to put in that, basically just type in that information for each item, contribution margin and popularity. Okay, then you come down to the bottom, and we have the average contribution margin, and we have this, in this case, we're looking at 80% of the average popularity. Okay, so you'll figure out what that benchmark is. And then after doing that, you're going to identify which category each item belongs in. Okay. And then the last question is asking about overall food cost percentage. How do we find the food cost percentage?
That's my question because I did it yesterday and I get it wrong.
Yeah. Okay, so what tool do we use to find our food cost percentage?
The triangle.
The triangle tool, right? And so if we look on our page here, we have the total cost and the total sales. So this is our cost, $355.75, and our total sales is 1,117.25. When you divide those two numbers, right? Use our triangle, and that will give us our food cost percentage. So let's go ahead and do that. 355.75 divided by 1117.25. So in this case, we're looking at about a 31.8% food cost. 31.8% food cost for this example. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about the analyzing menu mix homework. So that will be due on Monday. Okay. Then these are all kind of like stair stepper assignments. Okay. After you have finished the popularity benchmark, and after you have finished the analyzing menu mix homework, then you're going to move on to the chapter 4 exam. Okay. On the chapter 4 exam, you're going to download the assignment, the Excel assignment. Okay. The first 9 questions. The first 9 questions of your chapter 4 exam are going to be multiple choice. Okay. Your first 9 questions are going to be multiple choice. Then, once you get to number 10, you're going to look at the sheet right here. And this is where you're going to see number 10. You're going to be calculating the food cost percentage for number 10 and number 11. And then numbers 12 through 16, you're going to find the menu price. And questions 17 through 21, you're going to find the food cost. Okay. You're going to type those into the quiz and Canvas will grade it for you. Okay. What tool are we using for questions 10 through 21?
Triangle.
The triangle, right? We're using the triangle for each one of these. These are our 3 pieces of the triangle: menu price, food cost, and food cost percentage. So you're going to use that triangle for questions 10 through 21. Okay. Then we come over here, question 22. You're going to find the total cost. You're going to add up all of these costs. Question 23, add up all the sales. So then you can find the food cost percentage for number 24. Okay. We are not simply adding all these food cost percentages, all right? We want to actually find out what the food cost percentage is. And to do that, we have to get the cost and the sales. Okay. So if we were, let's say we were working in the restaurant, where would I find this total cost number right here? This number 22. Where would I find those, all these numbers?
In your budget?
Yeah, kind of in my budget. Exactly. I would figure out like how much I spent on those ingredients. And then where would I find the answer for number 23? All the sales.
At the bottom, right?
I would run, well, not necessarily on the bottom. I would basically run a report on my computer system. If I didn't have a computer system, I'd have to add up everything by hand, right? But if I have a computer system, I just hit run report and it'll tell me what my total sales were for that period, okay? So that's where I find those. And then you'll notice questions. There's 70 questions. You're like, oh my gosh, Mr. Minsky, 70 questions, that's so many. Okay, but take a look. Literally, you're gonna have to find 25, that's the popularity benchmark. 26 is the average contribution margin. And then the majority of the answers are gonna be the categories. Okay, so is it higher or lower? Is the contribution margin higher or lower? Is the menu mix percentage, is it higher or lower than the benchmark? And then this is the actual categories, 41 through 47 is be the actual categories. Okay. Questions about how that works? And then finally, you're going to redo the scenario after some menu prices have changed. Okay. And then you're going to go with 48, 49, and then reevaluate. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, number 25 and number 48 are the same answer. Okay. 25 and 48 are the same answer. They're not going to change. But 26 and 49 are going to be different. Our contribution margin average will be different. It will change. Okay. And then that will change your categories here. Yes, sir.
So we need the popularity percentage, the average.
That's the benchmark. That's number 25 and number 48. That's that benchmark number.
No, I mean like, what's to be considered popular, right? Don't we need that number?
Yeah, it's right here, 80%.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So it's both for the same?
It is, yep.
Okay.
And then I would like you to disregard number 71. Okay. I have taken number 71 out of the quiz, out of the exam. Okay. The reason why I did that is because in order for you to get your grade, I would have to go in and grade that question that's handwritten. And I want you to get instant feedback on the Canvas quiz. Okay. You have 25 attempts on this exam. So what do I expect?
100.
I expect 100, right? You have 25 attempts. If you don't get it after the first or second time, try to log into my office hours. Okay. You have 25 attempts, or maybe go back and rewatch the videos. Okay. One thing I will point out, and I apologize, I did not mean for this to be confusing. On your homework assignment, if you are online, okay, I just updated the activity that we did in class. I just updated this to do popularity and then contribution margin. Because oftentimes that's just how I think. I go from left to right. And so I do popularity and contribution margin. But keep in mind that the quiz, and those of you who are in class, I fixed it after I printed these. So keep in mind that the exam is doing contribution margin first and menu popularity second. Okay. So on our homework right here, our in class, if I say high low, then I think that is a plow horse, right? Because I'm thinking high low, but I want you to actually say it out loud. High popularity, low contribution margin. So that when you go over to the exam, you have contribution margin, and then popularity percentage, okay? And the only reason why I'm doing that is just because it's gonna be way too much. It's gonna take way too much to change these questions in the quiz. And so I'm gonna go ahead and just keep it the way it is. All right? Questions, comments, concerns?
No.
All right. Oh, Ashley, you have your hand up.
Yeah, someone has sent a message on a question about the decimal sensitivity points. Like, is it sensitive? I should say.
Decimal point sensitivity. That's a good question. No, because typically what I will do in Canvas is I'll give you a margin of error. Okay. So for example, let's look at these chili cheeseburgers right here. Okay, at 11.9%. If you were filling out this as part of a Canvas assignment, I would put the answer 11.9, but I might give you a 0.5 margin of error, meaning that if you answered anything from 11.4 to 12.4, then Canvas will automatically keep it correct for you. Okay. And I did that because in the past, I wanted to be a stickler about using percentages, using dollar signs, using the units, right? But if we look at this right here, 625, if I put into Canvas dollar sign 6.25 and somebody else put dollar sign space 6.25, Canvas would count it wrong because that's not exactly how I entered it. So students were getting really frustrated because they were getting the answer right, but it was counting it wrong in Canvas. So I went ahead and ditched all the symbols and it's only numbers. When you put the numbers in, it's only numbers, decimal places, of course, but only numbers, and I usually give you a margin of error. So it is somewhat sensitive, but it's not, it's not exactly, you don't have to get it exactly right. You can be off by like 1 or 2%, or one or two decimal places. Great question. Okay. So today, for the homework or for the activity in class, okay, you're going to repeat what we did up here, okay? And then you are going to come down here and where it says category change, you're going to basically say, did it move categories once we made some changes? Okay. So here we have our menu, we've analyzed it. Then we're going to make some changes. Okay. So we're revising some pricing on the bottom. And then you're going to identify if there's a change or not. Okay. If there's no change, you can just write the word none. And let's say it's a star to plow horse. Okay, that's basically what you would do. Star to plow horse or none. Okay, if there's no change, if it stays the same, there's no change. So we're going to identify which menu items changed categories. Okay, and our class goes out at 9:25, correct? Okay, so I'm going to give you about 20 minutes to work on this. And then the last 20 minutes of class, I'm going to do a very brief introduction to the project. And then next week, you're going to watch my full live recorded from the spring on the project introduction. But I wanted to kind of give you a in-person introduction to that as well. So it'll be very brief, okay? I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording.